And Section 4 of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution states, quote, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. Now, it is this critical provision which is stirring a new debate among legal scholars, and that's specifically whether or not it gives the President of the United States the power to raise the debt ceiling with or without congressional approval. Now, last week, former President Bill Clinton said that in order to prevent a default come August the 2nd, he would invoke this option, quote, without hesitation, and force the courts to stop me. But when the anointed one was asked if he would consider utilizing the constitutional escape clause, well, he wasn't quite so sure.
There have been some suggestions that a president could use that language to basically ignore this debt ceiling rule, which is a statutory rule. It's not a constitutional rule. I have talked to my lawyers. They are not persuaded that that is a winning argument.
Now, granted, this amendment was drafted back in the Civil War era, but some constitutional experts argue that because it was written in such vague terms, well, it is possible to conclude a broader regulation that can still be applied today. Joining me now with reaction, the president and his good friend of mine of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn, and you are a constitutional scholar. Sir, how are you?
Great to see you, Sean.
All right, we've been friends a long time. I saw Clinton's remarks, and I said, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Because I figured he was sending a message to President Obama, go this way. Reaction.
Well, the point is that Civil War amendment, first, the 14th Amendment has mainly to do with things that states may and may not do. And what they're saying in the amendment is, we've contracted a lot of debt, including a lot in the Civil War, and now we've got our union back together and we're all going to pay it, and we're not going to pay your debts. That is to say, the debts of the Confederacy. We're not all going to pay that. So it is a statement about something terribly important, which is the public debt of the United States, but it's not a statement about any particular branch in the federal government to control that. Mm-hmm. And if Obama were right, if he took this view, or if Bill Clinton were right, then, by the way, anything that the federal government does that increases the debt or increases expenses or decreases revenues could be read as a violation of this part of the 14th Amendment, and that won't do.
Yeah.
And so then see, there's a big thing about the Constitution. Separation of powers is fundamental to it, and money matters start in the Congress, specifically in the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. If he were to try to use this provision of the Constitution, written for a different purpose, to overcome that huge thing, that would be unconscionable.
See, it was interesting to me because he did say he had checked with his lawyers. So I got the impression that deep down inside he probably wanted to do it, but maybe for no other reason he recognized that there would be a political outcry.
And do you hear what he said? President Obama is on record as saying that community organizing, after he'd taken an oath to the Constitution of the United States to join the Senate of the United States, the community organizing should be used to overcome certain things that the founders put in the Constitution. I don't think his respect for the Constitution is a famous thing, or well-known, or he doesn't have it. What he said was, it isn't a winning argument.
Yeah.
He didn't say it's not a true argument.
So he's revealing the politics behind all this. You know, there are a lot of constitutional issues have come up here. When Senator McConnell outlined his plan, because you rightly point out that spending starts in the Congress. They pass the bills. And John Boehner told me this week. He said that, in fact, Mr. President, with all due respect, my reading of the Constitution, and he told me, he said this to the President, is that we pass the bills and you decide whether to sign them or not, if it's passed in both houses. But it's Congress that starts it. Senator McConnell and his deal seem to be willing to say, well, we'll give up our congressional mandate, obligation, and we'll cede it to the president because we don't want the political liability. Now, I think constitutionally, I concluded that they had the right to do that, but why? Why would they give up that responsibility when they were elected for that very purpose?
Well, they shouldn't. But, you see, another thing that's going on here is we have ourselves a game of chicken, and we're up close to something that has never happened. And that something is terribly important. Alexander Hamilton, among others, caused the new constitutional government, after the passage of the Constitution, to pay off the Revolutionary War debts at par. And that that stunk to high heaven, because a lot of people had bought those bonds and they declined to almost no value, and they belonged to speculators who'd paid a nickel on the dollar. And Hamilton's point was, if we pay these debts, all of a sudden the world is going to know our word is strong. We, and the United States of America, since that day, has never had a missed payment.
Never.
Ever.
Dr. Larry Yarn, President Hillsdale College, it's always an honor to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Great pleasure.
Appreciate it. And that is all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Let not your heart be troubled. The news continues. Greta Van Susteren standing by to go live on the record tonight. Greta, take it away. See you tomorrow night.